show. A pure shit show. It literally takes a village.
I don't know if it was dirty or clean.
Oh my god.
Mom.
Yeah.
Yes, because I'm shining. Woo! That was good, guys.
Were any of your kids late talkers? Levi's gonna be 2 next week, and I feel like he's late, but he's not. I'm comparing him to Landon though, and Landon was
I think a lot of parents do.
Yeah. So I don't know if he is late, but I think he is.
Did you think Landon was early, or you think he was on time?
Landon was on time with like his milestones. You know how they have the baby milestones according to like the doctor or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Landon was on schedule, and when I compare Levi to Landon, Levi's a little bit behind, but he's more advanced than Landon in other areas. So
Okay.
I don't know.
So you're comparing him to Landon, or you're comparing him to the milestone chart too from the doctor?
Both.
And he's still not up to the...
He's not up to par, but it's not like it's bad where I should worry. Like, the doctor was saying he should know 50 or more words by now. And clearly he does not know 50 words.
Have you counted?
Well,
Because sometimes you think that they're not saying much, but then when you stop and like count, you're like, oh crap, he actually does say
well,
a
like
good
what
handful
the
of stuff.
doctor had said was, even if he's saying or making a sound and he's so like for the train, he doesn't say train, but he always says choo choo,
But
or
that counts. That
and they say that counts.
Yeah.
Or instead of police car, he always says wee wee kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like making noises count as words.
Yeah,
But
okay.
to me, I'm like, Landon was saying words.
Yeah, but if they could still identify
Yeah.
what they're trying to say, they say count
Yeah.
that as well.
So my first one, he was up to the little standards of the milestones, but my last 2, they were late talkers, and they had already turned 2 and they weren't saying very many words.
Mm-hmm.
And my middle one, he would grunt a lot. And I'm like, what is up with these grunts, you know? And it was funny because he would sing and he was all into music, but he wouldn't sing words. It was like, na, 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 na. Like, you know,
Like
he would just
melody,
make noises. And then his daycare lady would tell me, don't worry, like when he talks, he's just gonna be talking. Like some kids start off early, but they say like little words at a time, and then the ones that take a while to start talking, they come out with full sentences, and you're like, what the heck? And it actually worked like that with both of them. Like one day he just started talking and it was like full on sentences and conversations, and I was tripping out on it. My last one though, she was later than him, and so I kind of got concerned because at that time I want to say she was already over 2, and I don't think she was meeting the 50 word requirement, but I hadn't counted until I started speech therapy with her, and we took her there, and then we'll go into like exactly what they had me do with her too, and we'll talk about that later. But go ahead. What about you? Did you have any late talkers?
So mine is really
They
weird.
came out the womb talking.
Honestly, it's crazy because I honestly feel like that, and I feel like I remember like, why is this child talking so much like this early? Like would come out like Devin would like blow everybody's mind. That's my oldest. He was saying like full on sentences like so little, and it would shock people. Like what? We would go places and they would be like, he looks so little, and he's like holding a conversation.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, I think it kind of went into each child, and I feel like because, which I was really shocked with Devin because he was the only child. So like for Peyton, he watched Devin and he kind of picked up on it, and the same with Harley, had Peyton and Devin, so hers came extra early. But no, they and I don't feel like I did anything extra special to make them like, you know, I wasn't like, okay, sit down, we're gonna like, I didn't do any of that
But
stuff.
did you talk to them like you would talk to an adult, or did you have baby talk with them?
No, I did talk to them. Like I very rarely did baby talk. I would do baby talk. I feel like every mom does baby talk, but I would talk to them like a little adult all the time too. So maybe that is, and we would read and do TV. I know a lot of parents are anti-TV, but we would watch like TV educational shows and stuff like that. So I feel like that all played a factor in just in talking to them. I would talk to them like a regular person versus a child. And then I guess it showed.
At what? I know you said you started speech therapy with Ray. At what age did you start to notice that she was
needed speech therapy?
Yeah.
So she has cousins that are around her age, but they're all like 6 months or older than her. And they were already talking. And so I was like, okay, but she's 6 months younger. So I kind of gave her like a little break. But once she turned 2 and she still wasn't hitting those milestones from the doctor. And then I want to say like 2.5. And I was like, okay, I have to, check it out. And so I asked the doctor to refer us to a speech therapist, which is all covered under the insurance. Yeah. So that worked out. I didn't know. I thought I was going to have to come out of pocket and all this because you don't really realize until you need those extra services that a lot of them are covered under your health insurance. So we had a referral, and then I took her in, and then they had me count how many words she was saying. So I would literally write down every single word. And then I was like, oh, she actually does say a good amount. It was like 40 words. It didn't meet the 50-word requirement, but it was still a lot more than I had realized. Because sometimes it's the same thing, like milk or cereal, like those kind of things that she wasn't putting sentences together. So that's why another flag that I had, saw was like, okay, they're supposed to be putting 2 to 3 word sentences together, and she wasn't doing that. So they had me, like just keep track of it at first. Do you feel like your son is old enough for you to want to put him in any kind of speech therapy, or is that something that
because even though I'm comparing him to Lennon, he'll be 2 this week. And, he can put 2-word sentences together, which is, one of the requirements or one of the recommendations for his age. So it's not like I'm too worried about it. So, and I think Lennon was probably speaking more because he was the only child and I stayed home, so I was talking to him more. But when I think back on, when Landon was that age and I compared him to his cousins that are all the same age, I had a niece who was saying uncle clearly, and Landon was still barely doing sign language, not speaking.
Didn't you say you had a niece who was, saying how old she was and she was 1?
Yeah.
Or something? They would ask her, how old is she? And she's 1.
She can talk. And he was, he was making noises and doing sign language. And I remember being worried for him, but...
That's right. Yeah. We started with sign language too, with the kids doing more and eat.
And so I was asking the doctor, is it hindering him using sign language because now he's relying to communicate with his hands versus verbally? And they said, no, it's actually making their brain work more. And he'll talk. It's not something to worry about. If he wasn't communicating at all, not using sign or talking, then you should be worried.
So do you guys feel like TV or tablets hinder them or help them learning?
I think that's a personal preference to each parent because like I said, I know some people who are anti-TV and tablet. And then I know some people and their kids are fine. And then I know some people who are pro and their kids are fine. Me personally, I do both, but I limit their time. I don't just let them be on it continuously all day. But I feel like it has a lot of benefits to it because there's songs and my youngest is all into music. Anything that's a song, whether it be the ABC song or any song, if it's in a song, she loves it. So we go on there and get things like that. So I'm not opposed to it. I definitely use it for my benefit, and I think there's some benefits that can come out of it. But I'm not knocking anyone who doesn't do that either. Just your preference.
I remember prior to having Lennon or when I was pregnant saying he's not going to be on the tablet or whatever. And then I think he got to an age where he was able to use it on his own and he was watching, and I think it helped him more because when they do things that are song related or in a song, they memorize it better. And then things that are interactive, their brain helps them like remember things. Like, and I remember like randomly, so random, he said that he's saying the ABCs to me. And I was like, what? I was so amazed because I didn't think he knew it at all, or he just knew ABC, but he did the whole thing. And my husband was like, he's singing it the way that they had it on the, because I remember he would watch one that was like an Australian one, and they say Z for Z, and he said it like that, and he's like, he's saying that. Yeah, so I think it helps, just depending on what they're watching. Like if it's repetitive, interactive, like, and singing, I think it helps because that's what you would do at a school. Like they're singing to you. Yeah. They're, it's interactive.
So you guys are like pro educational programs or like sing along songs.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I am
for
too.
TV.
Are you Anne?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I used to put on that Baby Can Read. Mm-hmm. I remember putting that on for my son, my first son, and then I would try it a little bit with my second one. My second one, because of the age gap, he watched less educational shows and more like Power Rangers, because his brother one was watching Power Rangers. He was watching different things that was age appropriate for him, and I feel like my younger one kind of skipped over all the Sesame Street and stuff. Yeah. So I consciously made an effort to now put more age appropriate things on for my baby now, that she's 3. So she watches like the educational ones, the singing songs and the shapes. And it's funny because even though she was a late talker, now that she's actually talking, she's saying her shapes and stuff. And I know it's because of like, she's calling out like the shapes and things. And I'm like, you're getting it. Like, all right, girlfriend, like you got this. So I definitely am pro like educational program, or age appropriate, I should say, programs. Yeah. And I wish I would have done that with my second son and forced him to watch age appropriate ones rather than just being lazy and letting him watch what my other son was watching, because I feel like he just totally skipped that whole little age group.
But did that like hinder or change the way he spoke or when he started speaking?
No, because he was a late talker. Remember, he was like a late talker, but so was my youngest. So, and she watched educational shows. So I think he probably would have spoke at the same time, but I feel like maybe he didn't know his ABCs and stuff as fast because he wasn't watching it over and over again as much, But he went to preschool and he did fine. So, it's okay. It didn't kill him. Yeah. But I feel like it definitely helps,
For sure.
Excuse me.
What did you guys do to help them? Did you do like any baby sign language books?
I did sign language with both boys. Levi still does a little bit, but he's starting to talk more now. Books, I did like sensory books with them. Like so that they can feel. And then like the things that they can move or just things like that. And just talking. Like I think they say when you just constantly talk, like even I remember being in the car with Landon and just driving, and I would randomly just be like, there's the train, what does the train say? Like as if I was speaking to myself, but like when they hear constant talking, they're
pick up on
putting it together.
Any special toys or
just like the sensory ones, and then whatever he was watching on his iPad that was like, he always did like Baby Shark and Coco Melon and
Coco Melon is popular.
He was big on Mickey Mouse. I remember like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and Levi's not. But see, Levi's watching what Landon's watching, like how your kids were. Yeah,
that's how it goes.
And we just got Levi like a little baby tablet where it's like for babies, like for kids, and it's like all ABCs and stuff, and he'll push repeat, and you can hear him like he'll say ABC, and then he'll like hum the rest. So I'm like, oh, he's figuring it out. Yeah,
that's cool.
And he's impressive. When I've seen him, he's a smart little cookie. The way he could work that thing, I can't even do it like that. So there's no worries there.
So for books, the speech therapist has suggested that we read repetitive books to her so that she can start speaking in sentences. And so the good books are like Brown Bear, what do you see? Like those, because I was reading to her, but I was reading like Cinderella stories and stuff like that. And he's like, she's so little, she's not really going to understand, you know, the story or anything like that. And the things that would benefit her to actually learn how to talk is to read the ones that have stuff that she could say with you. So the ones that have the repetitive little sayings. And so literally within a week, I tell you, within a week, I read to her every day, Brown Bear, Brown Bear. And by the end of the week, she was saying it back to me, the whole book. And then after that, they had these little flashcards that would put 2-word sentences together. So it was like a flashcard of a little girl jumping, right? And so I would tell her, you know, this little girl jumping or girl jump. And then she would repeat girl jump. And then I would flip to the next one. And then I would repeat those ones. And so then she would say girl jump, you know, so that was like, okay, a 2-word sentence. And then the next week they would have me add on another word to make it a 3-word sentence. So it says the girl jump or
and
the girl jumping.
You the flashcards?
The flashcards, literally, they were just, they provided like a sheet of paper because it was during COVID. So I just printed it out and it was just kids doing action, like, you know, like a little girl, like a baby crawling, you know?
Yeah.
And so we would say baby crawl, and then it was baby crawling, or the baby is crawling, you know? And then eventually it went to full sentences. And with us being on top of it every single day for that month, it took her only a month to learn how to fully put her little sentences together. And now she's saying things and I'm like, I didn't teach you that. Like, where did you get that word, you know, or that full on sentence? So it tripped me out because it really worked. It helped a lot.
For us, so with my oldest son, I know what helped a lot. I would put on Baby Einstein religiously. I swore by that, and he loved it. And they would do different age appropriate ones. They would play music, they would do shapes, and it was repetitive over and over again. And so those I tried to do with my second. He really didn't like it. So, and it's funny because what you do for one child won't work with the next one. So like my second one was more of like a book. Like he would like to see the shapes and things on a book. So each kid was different. So with my youngest, she was more of a toy learner. So I would do like blocks, or like if the A fit with the A, she has to be like physical. So at the end of the day, each kid learns differently. So whether it be sign language, books, toys, I feel like at the end of the day, whatever fits your child that you learn that they work better with, go with it. Whether it be TV, no TV, iPad, no iPad.
Speech therapy, no speech therapy. I wouldn't knock speech therapy. I feel like a lot of people are afraid to get their kids speech therapy because they don't want to admit that something is wrong, or
but that doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong either.
Yeah, it just means they may need, like, I wouldn't have known what books to read the kid to get them to say sentences, you know, like, because I've seen like 4 or 5-year-olds who are clearly in need of some speech therapy.
But when should you start to consider it? Like, when should you worry and need to?
Well, when it becomes so it was funny because after she started saying full sentences, she has like this little, you know, lisp where she wasn't pronouncing it right. And then they told me that I shouldn't be concerned until at the time she was still 2. So they're like, if she's 3 and she still can't pronounce certain, you know, a lot of her words, then you can come back in, and it's a different type of therapy. It's a therapy that they help them enunciate.
Yeah.
But so there's therapy for, and then when I was in there, they were like, oh, how is her eating and her diet and all that? And I'm like, oh, she hates vegetables. And they're like, oh, well, we have therapy for that. They have therapy to teach kids how to become less sensitive to different foods and more, I guess open to trying different things. I'm like, bring on all the therapies, right?
So you did like
because we were gonna do it, but then COVID hit. To it. I wasn't opposed to it. I feel like it's kind of scary to think, oh, my kid needs this kind of therapy. But then when you really think about it, they're getting these services to just help them get better, you know?
Yeah.
So anything to help them out.
Yeah, and I feel like it's never a disservice to help out your child getting more. Like, you're never going to fail there. What's the worst that can happen? They're either going to get better, from it. So why
That's
not?
true.
Especially if it's free under your insurance.
Go for it.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, would you let us know by screenshotting this episode and tagging us on Instagram? This would help us reach more awesome mamas like you who need to know they're not alone in the struggles of motherhood.
If you want to catch up on our previous episodes, visit mamasmimosas.com, where you'll get access to all of our podcast show notes, our YouTube videos, and our private Facebook group. See you there!